Tim here, and today I'm going to teach you everything beginners need to know about music theory. And the perfect place to start is to talk about pitches and how they move. When you play a note on the piano, those are different pitches. Pitches can be high up on the piano, and pitches can be very low. And a lot of times we use pitches interchangeably with notes. We know that pitches can ascend, meaning they are going up the piano. We also know pitches can descend, going down on the piano. Notes can step, meaning they are going from one note right to the next. Notes can also skip every other note. We call that moving in thirds. And notes can leap, where it's just larger than a skip. And pitches can also move chromatically, which is where you go from one note up a half step, up to the next note, just like that. So remember how those pitches can move, because that's going to play a big key into what I'm going to tell you next. So next we're going to build on that by talking about keys and scales. A key is all of the notes that exist in a piece. So if a piece is in the key of C, it's going to have 0 sharps, 0 flats. And when I play those notes in order from C up to the next C with 0 sharps, 0 flats, that is what we call a C scale. So the key is the notes that exist in a piece, but a scale is when you play those notes in order. So for example, a piece in the key of G would have 1 sharp, F sharp, but the G major scale would start from G up to the next G with that F sharp included, and that is your G scale. So when somebody says, hey, play this in the key of B flat or play this in the key of F, they're talking about that key has a certain number of sharps or flats, so it's important that you learn them all. And we'll talk more about memorizing all of your keys later on in this lesson. A chord is when you play notes simultaneously at the same time, and you play 3 notes simultaneously. We call that type of chord a triad. You know, like a triceratops has 3 horns, triangle has 3 angles. A triad has 3 notes. And there are 4 different types you want to be aware of as a beginner. They are major, sounds bright and happy. They are minor, sounds sad and dark. Diminished, which sounds tense and scary. And augmented, which sounds tense and mysterious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play one of those chords, and I want you to kind of think about what it sounds like and whether it may be major, minor, diminished, or augmented. Ready? Maybe saying, well, that might sound major. Well, let me play the opposite. Ooh, hear how that brightened up? But what I first played was that a little bit darker and sadder, right? Therefore, it must be minor. Now, here's how to play a major chord built on any note. That's the happy sounding one. You find the note, so let's say G, and then we go up 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps, and then we go up another 1, 2, 3 from there. So 4, and then 3 is the formula. And using that, you can play a major chord built on any note. Let's try that, say, on the note A flat, right? The first note up is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps, and the next one up is going to be 3 half steps up from that middle one, and boom, there's A flat major. So what I want you to do today is to kind of play around, starting on different notes, let's say E, and seeing if you can build a major chord on any note. Now, a minor chord is very easy to explain. You take the middle note, say G major we have, and the middle note's B, and you lower it a half step, and that makes it into minor. Now, if you just want to play it, without the major first, you hit G, or whatever note it is, and this time you go up 3 half steps instead of 4. So there's our second note, and then you go up 4 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 3 and then 4, but before with major it was 4 and then 3. So always be making sure you're double checking the spacing between those notes. A diminished chord, you play a note, you go up 3, and you go up 3 more. Which makes sense because the word diminish means to make smaller, and we're making the distances between the notes smaller. So it's 3 and 3. An augmented chord means to make larger, right? To augment. So you're going to play a note. You're actually going to go up 4. Whoops. 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to go up 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is how you play an augmented chord on each note. So what I want you to do is to practice at home. Find a note, say A, see if you can play the major, minor, diminished, and augmented. And see if you can do that starting on 3 different notes. So like A, E, and I don't know, B. Okay, now that we've learned about pitches and notes, and we've also learned about chords and scales, we are now going to combine those 2 things to talk about chord progressions. Are you ready? Okay, here I've written out the C major scale in the bass clef. So it would be played like this. And notice how there are 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. However, there's only 7 individual notes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we repeat that note just up an octave, right? So 7 individual notes, okay? Now, what I'm going to show you is this. Now, this may look scary, but all I did is on the bottom of each of these chords is the C major scale, which we just played. All I did is I built a triad, remember 3-note chord, on each of the notes. So instead of 7 individual notes, we have 7 individual chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we don't really call this 8, we just call this back to chord 1. And it's very important to remember the numbers of these chords for each key. Like to remember in the key of C, this is your 1 chord. This is your 4 chord. This is your 5 chord. Because in your pieces, you're going to be expected to play those chords kind of on demand. So it helps to know this layout. So what I'm trying to get across is in the key of C major, there's 7 individual notes and there's 7 individual chords. And these are the chords that exist in the key of C major. Okay. Now remember, I said that scales, like C major has 0 sharps, 0 flats. However, there are scales with sharps and flats, but not both. They either have sharps or flats. So like the key of G has 1 sharp, and that's F sharp up there. So when we're building the chords on the key of G, you got to be careful that whenever you have a note that hits over that F, it's going to be sharped automatically. So the sharps and flats in the key signature, sharps or flats I should say, also impact these chords. So if I was in the key of D with 2 sharps, any chord that had F in it is going to be F sharp automatically. Same thing with C sharp. So it's a lot to wrap your hands around at first, but just keep in mind that this is the key of C, and any key actually, that is scales when you put all the notes in a key together, and you can build a chord on each of those notes, and that there's 7 total. If you can get that, you've gotten the main part of this lesson, but of course, there is more to cover. A lot of times in music, you're not going to be playing the chords all in order like this. That just doesn't happen. Instead, what they do is they will pick out a certain order and repeat that throughout the song. So say like the 1 chord, followed by the 4 chord, the 5 chord, to the 1 chord. And we call that a chord progression. And the most common chord progression in all of music is 1, 4, 5. And that's true in every key. So if you're in the key of D, our 1 chord would just be D now. And then you go up 4 in that scale, G, and A, 1, 4, 5. Those are what we call the primary chords in each key. And also I want to mention one more thing, that chords are expressed as Roman numerals instead of just regular numbers. So instead of 1, 4, 5 like we're used to seeing it, it's 1, 4, 5 in Roman numerals. Now there's a little bit more to it than that. capital Roman numerals like this 1, the 4, and the 5, capital Roman numerals means a major chord. But not all these chords are major. Some of them are minor. And the ones that are minor are 2, 3, and 6. And hey, look what we have here. Those are undercase. They're not capitalized, right? Capitalized ones mean major. Undercase means minor. And you may be saying, Tim, what about this chord? You forgot it. You forgot it, Tim. Tell us about it. Okay, I will. And I didn't forget it. It's just that this chord specifically is a diminished chord. And to write a diminished chord, you write it as minor, but you add one detail. You add that little circle above it. So if you ever see that, that automatically means a diminished chord. And we don't have any here, but just for reference sake, say you had a 1 chord and they wanted it to be augmented, they would use a plus sign, which you can see right there. I almost wrote it out of where it could see. But just for reference, that if it has a plus, that's augmented. But in a scale, you're not going to have any augmented chords. You're just going to have one diminished chord right towards the end. And then majors, your primary chords, 1, 4, 5, and everything else is minor. Easy to remember, right? Just remember this to get the most out of this lesson. Just remember what pitches are, how you build those onto chords, how you have 7 individual chords in a thing, and that your primary chords are 1, 4, 5 in a major key. And those will be major in a major key, by the way. Minor keys are a little different. We're not going to get into those too much today. All I want to tell you is if you're in a minor key, which would be like this. See how it sounded kind of dark and sad in comparison? That's because we've added a flat here on the 3rd note, the 6th note, and the 7th note. And that's how you turn a major key into minor pretty much. And it works pretty much the same way. The thing is that the 1 chord, 4 chord, and 5 chord will then be flipped to minor. But the primary chords are still 1, 4, 5. So remember that. Primary chords are 1, 4, 5, and they get that based on what scale, what number note of the scale it's on. So a 4 chord, you go up 1, 2, 3, 4 in the scale, and you just build a major chord on there, and you have your primary chord, the 4 chord. Okay, remember earlier in the lesson where I said I'm going to give you a secret to kind of figuring out all of these different keys and key signatures? Well, we're going to talk about that in just a second. Before we get to that, I just want to say thank you so much to all those that have supported the channel over the years, from the regular viewers to the mods to the people that sign up for memberships or for courses, sign up for courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. I just want to say thank you because we wouldn't have been able to make it as far as we've had without your support. Thank you. So if you remember a bit earlier, we were talking about, the layout of keys and, a scale is when you put all the notes of a key in order. Well, we have to talk about how this looks visually because, this happens in pieces where they give us what's called a key signature in the beginning of a piece that tells us what sharps or flats we've had. For instance, if you look at G major right here, I said earlier G major has 1 sharp, F sharp. Well, guess what? If I have a piece in the key of G major, there's going to be 1 sharp, F sharp. Now you may be saying, Tim, there are 2 sharps here. You only count, the treble clef or the bass clef ones, not both. But actually, if you count them both, they're both the same note, since the top line on the treble clef's F, and then this line on the bass clef is also F. So if you double count them, it's not a big deal. It just tells you that all sharps in the piece, no matter what, are going to be sharped, unless they tell you otherwise with an accidental. Now, one question you may have is, obviously this note I just drew is an F sharp. It's right on that line here. But what about this note? What if I draw an F? Because these are both Fs. This one F is F here as well. However, if we look at the sharp over here, there's no sharp over that space where the F should be. So the question is this F also sharped? And the answer is yes. So the sharps and flats cover all of that note. So if F is sharped in the key signature, all Fs throughout the whole piece, everywhere on the piano, are going to be sharped. And like I mentioned before, each key signature has a number of sharps or flats. So if we move on to the key of D, we're going to have 2 sharps, key of A, 3 sharps, 4 sharps, 5 sharps. Say we select the one with all 7 sharps. That's going to be the key of C sharp. And literally when you play that, instead of playing all the white keys, every note is going to be sharped in that scale. F, C, G, D, A, E, B. That's all the notes. You can also have flats in your key signature as well. For instance, this one has one flat, B flat. So if you had a note, right where that flat is, that means that every B in the entire piece, remember, whether it's on that line or not, is going to be flat. Okay, let's go back to the key of G for just a second. All right, next I'm going to give you a secret to figuring out what key you're in and what sharps you have, because this can be a lot to kind of take in. So let me give you some kind of shortcuts to make this a little easier. Now this is very important. So we're going to go back to the key of G with one sharp here. And so when we have a key with one sharp, that sharp is going to be F sharp, right? We talked about that quite a few times. Now let's do the one with two sharps and see if we notice something. Now we have two sharps. We have the F sharp from before plus another one. So it's C sharp. So we have F sharp and C sharp in this one. So we had the one with one sharp, F sharp. Now we had the one with two sharps, F sharp and C sharp. Let's move to three sharps because there's a pattern I want you to see. Here we have the one with three sharps. We have the same two sharps we had before, F and C, plus a new one, G. And that is the key of A. So you may have picked up already that when we have a sharp, we start with F sharp, and then we have two sharps, we go F sharp, C sharp, and then the next one goes F sharp, C sharp, G sharp. The next one is F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp. So every time we add on a sharp, we're keeping the sharps we had before, right? When we had three sharps, we still had F sharp, C sharp, like we did when we had two sharps, but we add on another one each time. And how much you want to bet, we just did four sharps here, F, C, G, and D sharp. How much you want to bet if we did the key with all sharps, the first four would be F, C, G, and D. Let's take a look. And sure enough here, just looking at the treble clef here, we have F, C, G, D. Oh, look at that. We still have F, C, G, D, and then they add three more, A, E, B. So each time we're just adding one sharp on to the sequence or order of sharps that we've already had. And this is very important. Your order of sharps, the order in which you add the sharps is this. Remember this. F, C, G, D, A, E, B. 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 Remember it. That's your order of sharps. That's the order in which you add the sharps. So let's use that now. Let's say you have the key with five sharps. And your question then is, what sharps do you have if your key has five sharps? And the answer is F, C, G, D, A. And then you stop at whatever, number sharp you're on. If you have three sharps, it's F, C, and G. How about that? I think you're probably catching on by now. If not, just kind of keep practicing, keep practicing this. Now, I want to tell you this, that the sharps and flats a key has is not the name of the key. So remember when I said the key of G had one sharp, F sharp? Well, remember the sharp was F, but the name of the key was G, which isn't, anywhere in the key signature, basically. So let me explain. Let's say we have the key with four sharps. And what four sharps do we have? F, C, G, D. That's right, the first four in your order of sharps. So those are the four sharps we have. But to figure out the name of the key is a little different. What you do is you go to the last sharp, all the way to the right, and you play that note. So that would be D sharp. So you play D sharp. Are you ready for this? This is crazy. You're not going to believe this. So you play the last sharp, and you go up one half step to E. And that gives you your answer. The key of E has four sharps, F, C, G, and D. Let's do one more. Let's do the one with five sharps. What five sharps do we have? F, C, G, D, A. So F, C, G, D, A. We're going to go to the last sharp, which is A sharp. You're going to play A sharp on the piano. And you're going to go just one up to the right, up that half step, the next connecting note. And that's B. The key of B has five sharps, F, C, G, D, and A. So remember, if the key has sharps, you go to the last sharp, A sharp in this case, and you go up one half step. So go to the last sharp, up a half step, and that's your answer. Now, let's talk about flats, because flats are a little bit different. So I've just jumped right ahead here, and I've written out the key signature with all 7 flats. Now, are the 7 flats F, C, G, D, A, E, B? No, they're not, because that's the order of sharps. This is the order in which you add the flats, and here it is. The order is B, E, A, D, G, C, F. 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 Are you guys annoyed yet? Well, you probably at least remember B, E, A, D, G, C, F, right? Or at least what I like to think of as bead, B-E-A-D, GCF as greatest common factor. Remember in 5th grade when you were hopefully remembering that you didn't skip school like I did? So bead, greatest common factor, is the order of flats. So let's test your skills. This one has 4 flats. What 4 flats do we have? Is it F, C, G, D? No, that's the order of sharps. It's B, E, A, D, right? Bead. Now, the question you may have is, Tim, you said before, like with the sharps, that the sharps and flats you may have might be different than the actual name of the key. Remember, like the key of G, with 1 sharp, F sharp. F sharp is the sharp, but G is actually the name of the key. And the same thing goes with flats. And remember with sharps, you go to the last sharp and you go up a half step. That gives you your answer of the key you're in. This, what you do is you go to the next to last flat. So in this case, it would be A flat, and you play that on the piano. You'll find A, just go down 1, so that's A flat. And guess what? That's your answer. You go to the next to last flat, and you don't have to do a dang thing. You're just done. You're like, I did it. B, E, A, boom. Now let's do it this way. Since it's the next to last flat, let's say we have 5 flats. What 5 flats do we have? B, E, A, D, G. And the name of the key is going to be D flat, right? B, E, A, D. It's the next to last one. So the key of D flat has 5 flats. B, E, A, D, and G. Okay, I have a special request. This is a requirement. You must put the answer in the comments below. And if you don't do it, I'm never teaching another lesson again. I'm just kidding, of course. But I really appreciate to hear your input, because it would let me know if you guys are on the right page or not with this. So here is a quiz question that you must answer in the comments. The question is, what key signature is this? I guess the real question is, okay, 2 questions. First question is, what flats do we have, right? What 6 flats do we have? And then the second question is, what is the name of the key? So first question is, what flats do we have? Second one is, what is the name of the key? You must leave this. I'm going to be double checking. I'm going to be like, this person watched the video and they didn't leave a comment, so I'm not teaching anymore. I'm just kidding, of course. But I really appreciate your input. Okay, coming up, we have one final tip to rule them all. However, I just want to go over this stuff really, really quick. Remember that pitches are like notes on the piano. You're going to have pitches that are high up. You have pitches that are down low. Pitches can move in steps, meaning they're just moving from one note to the next. So when we play scales, we're playing in steps. Notes can also skip every other one. So when we play arpeggios, the skipping over every other note. If you are moving larger than a skip, doesn't matter how big it is, we call that a leap. A key lays out the notes that you're going to find in a piece. So if a key is in the key of, say, A major, it's going to have the notes F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. And when we learn our scales, which is when you put the notes in order in a key, it shows us visually where those notes are on the keyboard. And then for each scale, you can also, let's just do the key of C, you can also build chords on each of the individual notes to create 7 individual chords. And the most common chord progression in music is what? You got to leave it in the comments. I'm not going to tell you here. I just got to test to make sure that you guys are understanding this stuff. Anyway, I have a final tip as promised. And the tip is that this video is part of a larger series aimed at giving beginners everything they need to begin succeeding at piano. So you're going to want to check out the rest of the videos, the playlist right here. But I also want to mention that we're Because we're at the end of this course, I do want to say that you want to check out the courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. If you want to learn a lot more about piano, music theory, ear training, just taking those basic skills to that next level, that's what you want. You want to check out my courses over on my website. Use code YouTube for an additional 15% off. So it's been Tim here. Watch the rest of the videos here, and I'll see you next time.